Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host, Lulu Benavidez, is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Krokonis, Hanson, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. Angel Quesada is a multidisciplinary artist and cultural organizer whose work transforms public spaces into vibrant expressions of identity, belonging, and connection. For nearly 2 decades, Angel has brought murals, installations, and art events to communities across Texas, using creativity as a catalyst for social change. Born in Laredo, Texas, and shaped by experiences in Boston and Los Angeles, Angel fuses artistic vision with community purpose. Since 2006, he has created dozens of commissioned and guerrilla-style works, reimagining public environments and inviting people to see the beauty in their shared surroundings. His murals are known for their humanity, movement, and emotional resonance, often sparking meaningful conversations around culture, equity, and place. But for Angel, art is more than visual, it's transformational. Art is a powerful way to enhance living conditions for all people, and beautifying shared spaces, pride, and identity are nourished. Art can shape how we think and feel about a place and about ourselves. Art saves lives. As a creator, muralist, and community leader, Angel continues to elevate underrepresented voices, build bridges across diverse communities, and activate spaces with color, history, and hope. Please welcome to the podcast a cultural force who paints not only walls but entire communities, Angel Quesada.
Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Along with my co-host, Sue Krokonis Hanson, we welcome you to this podcast. So, Angel, I first met you in Austin, Texas. We did a little performance there at the Capitol. So can you tell the audience what exactly your art was about?
Yeah, that was a cool event, and it's so cool to come into your orbit, Lulu. Thanks for having me on your show, and nice to meet you too, Stu. I knew Renee for a while. I was curating for a thing called PhotoFest here in Houston, and I saw her work, and I heard her story, and I thought, the juxtaposition of her story and the imagery that she had was very compelling, and I had no idea it was her first major exhibit of showing of her work. So I think that really impacted her and kind of helped catapult her into this, making and really showing her art and pulling people together, inspired by this sort of overarching vision that she has. So she came to an exhibit of mine, I think I had last year, and she said she was working on this project at the Austin Capitol, and I thought, oh, that's cool. Yeah, let's do it. So I put it out of my mind, and this and that happened, and then, it's upon us. So I thought of an image that was going to be easy to kind of bring into that format of viewing. So not just a straight up painting. I made a papel picado that was sort of a standarte, like in the traditional Mexican vein of the danzantes or the peregrinos, the ones who carry the standard of the Virgen or whatever. And so I was talking with my friend Jesse about that I wanted to do that, and he thought it was a cool idea. He also did one. So I made a papel picado standard that was about 3 feet, más o menos, square. And it was based on another image that I had of this idea of todos, all. So it's appealing to all people. So it's the idea of you're included. If you're looking at this, you're part of the conversation. So I wanted to make it very generous and an image that was simple to read, yet it was deep, So I wanted to access that sort of readability from not just artists' point of view, but also just the general public, because I knew that at the Capitol, I wasn't able to control the audience. So that was something that I was just looking to do. So yeah, I put it on some Hanson paper, some bright orange Hanson paper, and I cut it out, and it was I thought it was pretty successful. I was happy with it.
Yeah, it was. It was successful, and your image and all the artists' image, Jesse's image, and all of them were just incredible. And I guess I didn't know that it was going to be a big thing until we got there.
He realized what a deal it was going to be. So what's funny about that image that I created? I walked into the Capitol, and they're all like, "Okay, sir, put your stuff in there, and we got to put you through that magnetic resonate and check your out." So I go in, and they're like, "Now, what does that mean? To dos?" And I like, "Oh yeah, like a to do list, because it's TODOS. Are you talking about like a to do list?" I was like, "Awesome, I like that a lot." So, I mentioned that in my talk, but I thought it was really funny how even though it's Spanish, it's still like readable.
Yeah, right. And we had such a great time presenting our work, and I think all the artists did such a wonderful job, and all the speakers did too. And I kept asking, when am I going to say my speech? When am I going to say my speech? And nobody knew until. Yeah, it was in my pocket, and I got to say it in that afternoon and during lunchtime. But anyway, I guess I have to have everything written in order for me to move forward, because I don't, that's the only way I'm going to know.
Yeah, the brain is very special that way sometimes.
Yes, yes. So, Angel, you have said that art is a powerful way to enhance living conditions for all people. Can you tell our audience about that?
Sure. I kind of came into that sort of catchphrase because like every great artist has some catchphrases. So I thought, what would be my catchphrase? What does art do? Like, why am I bothering to do this? Like, if I stop doing this, no one's going to care, right? And no one knows me before my art. Some people know my art before me, which is interesting. It has a life of its own in that way. But in other respects, like you think about, why do we go to war? Why do we fight for things? Like, what is our culture? What's valuable to us? What are we actually struggling for? When we wake up, is it just to feed ourselves so that we can then in turn evacuate that? And then what are we supposed to just have babies? I mean, what's the point of all this stuff? Are we supposed to eat hamburgers and hot dogs and pizza? Or what are we fighting for? So is it Mexican culture? Is it American culture? Is it the melting pot? What is our culture? So I thought, because art is really not culture, it's sort of a cultural thing in and of itself. But then if you think about what is the culture of America, is that something that we're protecting? And what is the culture? So is it rodeos and barbecue? Is it
careful now. Careful. Careful.
It's confusing because we're such a melting pot, and that's what I love about my city, Houston, in that I could go down and have some chai tea, and then later that afternoon go have some Yemeni coffee, and then go have some Ethiopian food, and then down the street go get a papusa, and then eat a taco later, and then go have some Italian food later, and after that some Nepalese food, and it's just all over the map. And for me, that's exciting because I think of myself as I have my own spaceship. You all have your own spaceships. This is my spaceship, and I'm traveling through. So and these are all different places. So in that way, when you're heading off to your job where you have to pay rent and make your kids survive and teach people things or whatever, what are we absorbing? What are we digesting in our visual landscape? So I think that art is that little momentary thing. I do a lot of murals over the past decade. I've done a lot of murals, and I like murals for selfish reasons, but for unselfish reasons, I know that once I'm done with a mural, it's no longer in my control, and people use it however they want, or they see it and then they take it in. It becomes part of their route, their landscape, and their spaceship travels by it, and it becomes part of the tree they see, or the sort of building that they see. It's just a part of their everyday. So for me, that's something that it's very transformative, in that I'm actually impacting people in this kind of quiet way, with colors or whatnot. It's a way that can potentially make someone's life a little bit better, and it can potentially improve the living condition for the person who is seeing it or taking it in. Maybe it will annoy them. If anything, it's going to make them think about it, and that's something powerful. You can't trim a tree and make somebody think about, beauty, or can you? In the way that you want to talk, like say if you have like a very specific issue. So say you want to talk about war. You can't like build a wall. Oh my God, I'm walling myself in here. Can you trim a bush? Yeah, you can probably. So you know what I'm saying is like that expression of like communication. How do we connect that to our lives? And is that bridge that connects us as humans? That's a thing that we humans can do. And for me, that's a powerful platform to be able to create an image and have it be viewed in a public space. That's really powerful.
One of the things that's interesting is you've created commission pieces, but you've also done some clandestine murals, I understand. Do you have some stories about some of your...
Oh my God. I've been arrested for making art. I've been put in jail for painting murals. And that was just dumb. Like the whole rationale and framing of that thing. I was painting over some gang graffiti. I literally got put in jail for painting flowers. I wound up turning it around, and I got an apology and a proclamation from the pro tem mayor of Austin. But I was like, to heck with Austin, I'm out of here. So I moved to it. I still have a lot of ties to Austin. For me, those clandestine murals, they're the ones that you really have freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
make art to pay the rent, and that is kind of a hard place to be sometimes, in terms of like, I don't want to piss anybody off. You're going to just make something beautiful or something that's practical. You're not going to do something that is going to make people upset. In the clandestine way, you can say things and get away with it. Who didn't tell you otherwise? Like I've done art that protests oil companies. I've done art that protests import-export businesses that talk about commodities and things that maybe make people nervous and they wouldn't fund. But that's kind of like dangerous territory, right? We don't want to talk about bad stuff or death, or, exploitation. And it's often that you'll see exploitative art being used in that way, especially like I remember the time of George Floyd and I Can't Breathe, a period of American awakening, and what we call woke now. This sort of idea of the exploitative art where, you have images of these people who are suffering, and you're using them to, I guess in a way, address the issue, but at the same time, like, well, what's that going to do? Other than perhaps raise a little bit of awareness, it's not really going to, there's no directed, like, okay, you're pissed off about this, what are you going to do about it, right? So there's no solutions presented. And so for me, that's not it's a waste of energy for me. And I kind of like worry about artists who do that, because then I understand their heart's in the right place, but then it's like, if you're going to put that image in public, that's going to create like, what are you doing? Like, you're bringing attention to yourself, or are you actually trying to do something about that issue? So I feel it's dangerous area to tread. But I like that the clandestine murals offer that freedom. As far as the commission murals, I try to. It's like a balance between the client and myself. So I want to be free, and so what happens is I use color to set myself free. A lot of times, because it's difficult to use like straight up imagery that's graphic, that you can see that the normal non-artist person will understand. Even colors can be symbolic, but still, the commissioned work is way more safe than the clandestine work.
So, Angel, you were born in Laredo, Texas, correct? Yes. And you've been in Boston and Los Angeles. How did those cities in different environments influence your style and perspective as an artist?
I guess it's easier to see that that influence from outside of me, because being me, it's hard to really quantify that. However, if anything, I would say that Boston really gave me that worldly view, that global idea that all the cultures are connected, because Boston's a very multicultural city. And I felt very connected to the world. When I was in LA, I felt very American, and for me, there was a real sense of connectedness to America. What's funny is that when I was in Boston, coming from Laredo, I'm rejecting my Mexican American heritage. I grew up, and it's like 90% Latinos around me, and mostly Mexicans, right? And very few non-Mexican Americans. And most people speak Spanglish, and so I never really learned Spanish very well.
Right.
So when I moved to Boston, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no Mexicans here. They barely were starting to have burritos there. And that was like a popular thing. And I remember that advent of that, and I had this revelation. It's like, I'm a Mexican American, I'm a Chicano. And then I started to really make an effort to learn my culture more, but also speak Spanish. So I wound up speaking Spanish with a lot of non-Mexicans. So, I remember hearing all the accents over there. Oye, hermano, ¿te gusta comer la carne? Ah, sí, pues tú vamos a tomar una china, vamos a tomar una guagua. Y pues, tú sabes, vamos, mano. And so it's esa vaina así de hablar así. And then when I came back over this way, they were like, where are you from? So when I moved to LA, I had gotten, married, and I was in a relationship with a Japanese woman. So it was very different culture. So I'm like a tourist in my own life in some ways. And I was playing in a punk mambo band. So I was in art school, and I was in a punk mambo band married to a Japanese woman. And I was studying martial arts, doing Chinese kung fu. Okay, so
oh wow.
And then I got injured, and then I moved, having injured myself playing music. That's when I started doing more martial arts and healing myself. And I let go of making music and art for about 5 years. And I just started to teach and really get deep into martial arts and healing. And so I studied under a lot of healing masters and martial artists. And over that 5-year period, I was ranked 6th nationally, teaching Tai Chi and competing. So I healed myself, and I got stronger. and I had so much energy. And then a friend of mine from Austin, when I first lived in Austin in the 90s, said, "Hey, do you want to go record an album?" Because we used to play music together. And I said, "Let's do it." So after 5 years that my dry spell, I went right back into playing music, and I moved to San Francisco, and I started playing music again. I started sketching again and writing. And then I'm like, what am I doing in California? Oh my God, I'm from Texas. So I had gotten divorced and realized that like I was like out of my element, and I moved back to Texas and started to curate. I started curating different artists' works, and I started working at different galleries and museums. I started working at Mexicarte Museum. So I was there for about, gosh, like almost 4 years. And I started doing murals there back in 2006. So I did about 9 murals, maybe a little bit more. And Sylvia just kept it going on, the director. Because it's like it's prime real estate right there on 5th and Congress in the middle of downtown. So I feel it's like all of that experience made me realize that art is not necessarily the product; it's more the process. And ultimately, I want to go in that direction more. But that's really a challenge conceptually to package and get a grant for, and have people understand, because you really have to create the context to have that play out in a way for people to experience that creative process. Because for me, that's the most interesting part of the art.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about process, somewhere either speaking with Lulu or in your bio, it talked about that you sort of describe your work as multidisciplinary. And when I read, I was like, well, what does that mean? How does that affect how he approaches a project?
Yeah. So ideally, I want to go in that direction more, because I come from playing music. I come from movement art, which is the martial arts, and moving my body and playing with weapons or whatever. I even did tango for a little bit here in Houston. And I would like to get more into dance.
Yeah.
So I also did like healing art with my hands. I worked with bodies, and then I've also done a lot of media work where I'm building narratives or creating stories that help to give more insight into different cultural work. I've worked with a folklorist, and I was part of the city's arts agency here, where I helped to build more community awareness of like things like Juneteenth, or like the parade celebrations around the Virgen de Guadalupe, or farmers, like local community farmers, and the African American and the Cambodian diasporas here, and Indian weddings, like different food and foodways and cultural practices that are a part of our holiday observations from different cultural aspects. And for me, creating those visual audio narratives to tell a story was pretty significant. And so I'd like to bring that more into play, because I thought about, why am I making art now? What is the point of me continuing doing this? Like, because what do people think of when they make art, right? It's a painting of someone, or a painting about something, or a landscape, all the great masters and whatnot. But like I said before, that process part, how do we share that with somebody who's a layperson, who's not aware of what it takes to make the artwork, who has no insight into that process of like, well, how do we begin? And when they're in the middle, how do we end it? So that whole that journey is the difficult part, right? People only get to see that end product. well, how'd you get here? Like, well, you have no idea. I don't even know how to explain it to you. You know, I was in that moment, and then I just said, you know what? Instead of red, I'm going to use blue. And then,
Yeah, you're right.
but there's some moments where it's like, okay, well, how's that? Is that planned? Is that not planned? In this super curated world, there's that one little moment where you have to make up your decision. Am I going to go left? Am I going to go right? And so that authenticity, I feel like, is missing. And so how do we bring people into the fold of that conversation and imagine art as something that's magical? But I think that bringing all of my experiences together into like one thing, that's going to be my life challenge. So I've done all these things in the past. Now, how do I bring it to my future?
Correct. You talked about you learned Tai Chi and you learned to heal your own body. And there's a part that I wrote this craft cutting segment for Matrix, which is a hair product line. Anyway, yeah, and so part of it, that craft cutting or craft, it's called craft. We talk about martial arts. Because whatever you're doing, whether you're painting, whether you're drawing, or whether you're doing hair, or whether you're sitting behind the computer, your body gets, really out of whack. So learning, as yourself, Tai Chi, or if you're learning martial arts. So in hairdressing, we learn how to stand correctly because it's so taxing on our body.
Absolutely.
So we move around the client's head and we're constantly moving, but the bottom of our feet, our arms. And so that just goes to show you, no matter what you're doing, you got to keep moving and moving the correct way, not overextending yourself, but moving your whole body.
Absolutely.
I think that's wonderful.
Philosophically, you look at the core of what the teaching is, and it applies to all things. In fact, the idea or the word kung fu, it just means like gong means hard work and perseverance, and fu, it's like work. So gong fu, it's like hard work and perseverance. So if you get really good at something, you have good gong fu. Kung fu. So you can have kung fu in anything, cooking, making art. So that's why I go by art kung fu.
Right.
So that's a skill that you've acquired through hard work and focus. And just like you spoke, for me, the mural making was a big part of me moving my entire body and staying, in my body. So if I'm trying to move with my whole body and my waist and breathe and stuff. Even now, you're listening to me, and I'm thinking about my posture and my back, and I mention it, and I bring attention to your breathing, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about it. It's just we can observe ourselves, and then there's also the other level of observing yourself. So there's different levels of like what it is that you're doing in time and space. There's what we think we're doing. And then there's the actual physical manifestation. Like if I'm going to go from here to my kitchen, it's going to take me some time to get there. And in between that, I could nick myself or like trip over something or knock on something or hurt myself somehow if I'm not paying attention. So that's that mindfulness, So being mindful. And it comes out in a line. So when you're making a line, like there's been times where I'm like, okay, that's not the line I want. Erase. No. I gotta relax. Okay, that's better. And one more time. Now with my breath, you just have to like get that line exactly how you imagine you want it to be. But the translation between your mind doing it and your hand and your dexterity is a different thing.
Yeah. Right.
That's another way that art saves lives.
Yes, that's so true. And breathing. I go work out, 3 times a week, And this person I work out with, she always tells me, breathe, Lulu, breathe. Because if you don't have somebody telling you, because you think you're breathing, but you're holding your breath. Yeah. When you breathe correctly, if you're exerting or you pulling down, if you breathe out or you breathe in, that makes the exercise or whatever you're doing, whether you're doing a straight line or where you're drawing, you have to breathe. So that's so important.
It's an indicator. And in many ways, it's the beginning of something. So when
Correct.
you breathe, and then you can begin with the movement, right? So or the line. And even when you're shooting a gun or drawing a bow, especially it's an indicator of like, am I able to do this without exerting myself? You know, so if you're holding your breath, then there's tension there that maybe you don't want or that you're not aware of. So it's a great indicator. It's always a good baseline.
You know, I love that phrase you used, art saves lives. Is there a time in your life when you feel like your art maybe saved you?
I think it continues to save me. One of the things that people say about work is that you should find something that you enjoy, and then, you know, you'll never work a day in your life. I think that's a lie. A lie perpetrated by our overlords. However, there are times when we enter that flow state, and I think that is the goal of humans, to enter this flow state. And when you're in flow state, everything just disappears, and everything is perfect. And time flies. You don't think about time. So for me, sometimes that really has been that catalyst has been art, and it's just a place, like a placeholder for me to exist in time and space. And so then when I'm done with making that art, I've always been so very self-critical of the art, you know, because I'm always like, I know it's good and I can be better, and this can be better. I look at that, I wish I had done this, or I wish this could be better. You know, I should have used this material, or I could have used this thing, it would have gone so much faster. If only I had thought of that. But in that moment of like actually doing it and then forgetting about your posture, right? And then remembering your posture and then like, okay, is this the best position for me to be doing this? Or like, and especially in this day and age where like there's like so much unrest and disease and things that just happen that are so out of our control. Like the few things that you can control are right here, you know, inside, and what's inside can manifest on the outside. So if anything, by me working on saving my life, I'm helping to be a reflection for others, and I'm helping others to see themselves in me. That's my goal, so that when we have the possibility of somebody who chances upon this, you know, discussion about art, they are looking at art as not only a product or a signifier of luxury and wealth, but it's something that reminds us of our humanity. And what is humanity? It's just a bunch of empty and meaningless things that we, you know, drift from birth to death. And in the meantime, like, how can we affect others in a positive way or a negative way, right? So all of that stems from within, you know, healing ourselves. So a big part of making art is healing, you know, because I do come from that as well. Having injured myself from not respecting myself, not really understanding the limits of my physical form, my spaceship. Now I'm like 53, and I'm thinking, oh, how much more do I have? What's the point of all this now? We romanticize art, you know, we romanticize it. and that's a big part of the illusion of what being an artist is about.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really seriously doing it, I mean, it could be a hobby. That's still serious, but because somebody's going to see it, right? Ultimately, someone's going to see it, unless you're just a monk practicing. And in some ways, it is very ascetic-like, where you're just doing it on your own. I mean, we're not in person; we're virtual here, but I have drawings that I need to do because I'm getting paid for them, so I have to just go sit somewhere. I go to a cafe and I just work on my iPad or sketch out the ideas, and then if I need to sketch out on paper or work on a larger scale, then I have my home studio. I may have to rent a studio for a big mural commission that I have coming up. That's going to be mosaic and painting. So, depending on what the project is, I adapt.
You have been part of the Texas art scene since 2006. That's almost 20 years. How have you seen the public art landscape change during this time?
I guess if I were to answer that in a way that really addresses what you're asking me, I mean, I've been involved in the arts since the 90s, but I moved away to Boston and LA, and coming back, like there was nothing here when I first got back. There were no murals. Now the mural movement took off like in the 20 knots, so around 2010 it was in full bloom. 2010s it was like blowing up globally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a young person's game because it is very physical. So now, while back in my day, a decade ago, there was maybe 10, 15 people that and I knew them all, and we were all doing stuff in the public sphere, clandestine or commissioned, whatever. And now there's like 40 plus people just in my city alone who are doing amazing, phenomenal work that is very populace rooted, where it's like they're like photorealistic imagery of some deceased person, or like some beautiful homage to our heritage, or something that's just like, wow, did a machine make that? No, it's like some young 20-something who has all this energy and like this amazing talent, who's just like going for it. And a lot of these young people are so talented, but they don't have this sort of like fine arts background. So that's an interesting dilemma. And I know a lot of fine arts people who are like annoyed by this.
Yeah.
And it becomes manifest in, say, like the electrical boxes, where you have very plebeian, imagery of like butterflies and dogs and like pretty things. It's great. It's better than the steel box that was there. But then you have like these like people who are, really into abstract expressionism, and they're like, this is boring. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
No, it's trash. Why can these people not paint? No, they don't know art. So I kind of sit between both places, and I understand the generosity and a little bit of naivete of these artists with all this gusto and energy. And then I also understand the academia side of artists rooted in art history, and they're more connected to those deeper dialogues that have already taken place. And a lot of these younger kids are just kind of reinventing the wheel, but I mean, it looks beautiful. So I'm for both. I want it to continue, and I don't know what's gonna be next in the terms of what mural art looks like. But I know for a fact that there's more corporations now that are coming into that scope of commissioning those types of artists. So I'm hoping that more fine artists will jump on the bandwagon and do more public art that is more engaging, because by God, we can use it,
Yeah.
It's just public art. There's so many like loops and hoops that you need to go through to make it work, and obvious, and the imagery suffers because of it.
Yeah. It sounds to me like the sweet spot is where discipline runs into passion. It's
That's
both.
always the sweet spot. That's always the sweet spot. I wish I had more discipline.
And there are days I wish I had more passion. Yeah.
It's like my ADHD takes over, and I'm like, it feels like you're running up against that, but I've got like 20 things going at the same time, and they're all like advancing a little by little.
Mm-hmm.
And often I'll get like 3 or 4 or 5 of them done at the same time, and it's like, take a break.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get burned out. And going back to that adage of like, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
You need to constantly remind yourself why you like art, and find some mystery or intrigue. And that's for me why I like seeing the handmade. I like seeing the human hand in the finished work, especially in a public artwork or a mural or whatnot. I like to see, a human made that. It's not perfect.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you about one of your more well-known pieces, and I'm probably going to kill this, but I think it's Segundo Barrio. Is that one of your murals? Did I kill it too bad?
I painted that in 2019, I think. And that was a commission that I added on to another piece that I did called Muertos mural. The piece is a sort of like a hey, we're here. It's like a wayfinder, So it's a way for people to remember, we're in Second Ward, but it's in Spanish, Segundo Barrio. I know that El Segundo is in El Paso. That's more casual.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all have one of those kind of sides. In Austin, it's the east side. So, I don't know. I feel like Segundo Barrio is like the underdog in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
All the brown people get divided by the highways, and then they also have to live by the petroleum, petrochemical plants that are always like having some meltdown or whatever. But if you look around in my neighborhood where I live in Second Ward, bunch of Mexican families, and then their kids have families and they buy a house down the street, and so I live next to the daughter, and across the street is the dad, and then next door is the sister. So we all watch out for each other. It's cool.
Sounds like my hometown in Iowa.
Yeah, right. So, for the artists who are listening on this podcast, especially the young ones, what do you want to make a difference in their community, and what advice would you give them about using art as a tool for a change?
So for the young artists who are listening, or old artists, people who want to use art as a weapon or a cudgel or a fulcrum, to use art is powerful. It's transformative, and it can be used for good or bad. So if you think about what it is your community wants to reflect upon, or if you want to say, what does your community stand for or stand against? That's another way you can use art to bring people together, or put them on the same side of an issue, or help to create some dynamism, right? Whether it's just beautiful colors and plants. I got put in jail for making flowers. So it can be used for beautifying. If you wanted to, you could use it for terrifying.
Yeah.
And some white supremacist groups have used that. So a tool for change, art as a tool for change look at Leni Riefenstahl, what she did for the Nazis. I mean, amazing film. I don't know if you've seen that film.
Yeah.
Really incredible work. Beauty is very influential. We look at Instagram, we see these beautiful people and the beautiful things they do and the beautiful cars they drive and the beautiful food they eat and all the beautiful fashion. So beauty is like a magnet, and so you can use beauty to help to drive the conversation. Artists tend to be the ones that are the drivers. So if you can tap into that and keep that excitement and keep that momentum going through beauty, there can be some real powerful statements made. I'll just stop there.
Well, on the lighter side, Angel, our audience loves when we play a little game called Rapid Fire, because I ask 5 questions, bing, bang, boom, and we ask the people being interviewed to ask them with the first thing that comes into their mind. And again, I think the reason they love it is because it's very lighthearted and it lets us see a little bit more into the person, not just the craft. So would you be willing to do rapid fire with
Let's
me?
do this. I've never seen these questions before.
Well, we've been known to mix things up quite a bit here.
Go for it. Let's do it.
So one of the questions I have to ask you is, as an artist, what is your favorite mural you've ever painted? You know, the one that still to this day sort of gives you chills?
I don't know if it was chills, but definitely like longing. Like I had a mural that I painted. It was 9 feet by 16 feet on wood.
Wow.
And it was this thing called Serpanther. It was like a serpent and a panther. I kind of just made up this design. But for me, it was really kind of a new direction, and it was very much from my brain, and I was really happy about that. One day, it just disappeared, and somebody stole it off the wall. So I've had art stolen from me before, from an exhibit at a museum even. Another one from the street like this. So that was, I guess it's a compliment, but
Maybe the ultimate compliment, that somebody loved it so much they had to steal it. I mean, that's pretty incredible to me.
Gosh.
Okay, you have been a lot of places. What city always sparks your creativity the most?
God, I don't know if it's one city. However, I like going to Mexico. When I did go to Japan, that was pretty amazing. But yeah, I would say Mexico City or Boston. You know, those two places they're very creative. Because you got
Yin
the
and
whole
yang.
view.
The yin and the yang. Okay, fun one. If you weren't an artist, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
I think I'd either be like a healer, and I am a Tai Chi teacher. So either a healer or maybe like some kind of like physical therapist.
In a way, your art is physical therapy, because I'm sure I know, as someone who appreciates just art, just one piece of art in a room can change my whole mood. Do you paint in silence, or do you have something special on your playlist?
It just depends on how much stuff I have in my brain. So if I have too many things in my brain, I just want silence, and I'm like working quietly. Or if I want to like get energy and I know that I don't have to think too hard, and it's just kind of like zone out, I'll play some music, and often I'll play like upbeat music. Like, depends on how big of a task I have in front of me.
Yeah.
If I have like some detailed things to do, I'll play something a little more uh, you know, involve like some classical music, or like maybe, you know, some more quiet, intimate type of music, or maybe like some trance kind of stuff, like some meditative type stuff. And if I have like if I need to expend a lot of energy, like laying down, blocking out a huge mural, or like stretching canvas, or like doing something that's very demanding, I'm going to play some, you know, cumbia or salsa, or some kind of like trance hop or hip hop, or something that's going to like whoosh, whoosh, get me up.
Yeah. If you had to describe your art in one word, what would that word be?
I'll say it's a bit rugged.
Rugged. That's an interesting word.
Yeah, because you have to take into account the generosity, but also the sort of like commonplace qualities of it, but also the ability to be read on a lot of different levels. So if you're a fine arts person, you can look at it and still get something interesting back from it. If you look at it and you're just a regular person who doesn't know anything about art, you can still get something from it and be like, oh, okay, I appreciate this for some reason. And also, it doesn't need to be looked at either, because it could care less.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling, just from the little time of talking to you, another word might be generous, because I think you're very thoughtful about many layers of who's looking at your art. So I'm really glad you could be with us today. I'm so glad that Lulu introduced us. It was just great speaking with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm quite honored. Yeah, thank you.
So, Angel, can you tell the audience where they can find you?
For sure, I'm on Instagram, Art Kung Fu, ARTKUNGFU, Art Kung Fu, and my website is myname.com. See my name, angelquesada.com, and .com, and pretty much you can just Google me, and I'm easy to find.
Yes, you are easy to find, because I went through the website and put your name and got all this information on you. So, so I want to take your your Tai Chi class.
Yeah.
I need to find a way to like democratize it and put it online. And my goal is to do it on YouTube or something like that, on a platform where maybe there's like a small paywall or something. But, but I want to get it out to people who aren't in front of me, and because I've been doing a lot of private lessons and smaller groups.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, on behalf of artists, icons, and entrepreneurs, we want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. You have so much information to share with the audience, and we're just grateful. And I'm grateful for getting to meet you and Jesse and all the artists in Austin. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for doing this, and for putting the energy to make this happen. I want to do a podcast too.
Oh, wow.
To make my podcast.
You would do a good one.
I'll have you on my podcast when I get it going.
Well, good, because we need all the ratings. Thank you, Angel.
Lulu, Sue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/artists, icons, entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavidez, on IG at Lulu Benavidez, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavidez.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.